I hear you're in a rush. What is it?
No, Dweezil and Ahmed Zappa are here.
All right, let them unwind. Give them a little something to drink. Just calm down.
I'm sorry.
Floppa Flowly.
I want to applaud someone before we make this phone call.
Thank you, Kenny.
Not you. I want to applaud Richard Belzer.
What did he do?
What did he do?
Yeah.
His zits cleared up. No,
You know,
I'm just kidding.
His face cleared up. I knew you were going to say that.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show. Good night. No, I want to applaud Richard Belzer. I opened up the New York Post today, and I saw a thing where Richard Belzer believe it or not, Arsenio Hall show, according to this article, has been begging Richard Belzer to come on.
Really?
Yeah, and Richard Belzer, this is even more amazing,
said no?
Has been unable to come on to the show because he has been so busy with acting projects.
Now that is incredible.
Yeah. Now I don't know if I buy that part of the show, the story, but that's not why I'm applauding him. But as you know, Belzer needs publicity and hype, and the Arsenio Hall show is a show that he could use for that reason. So this is why I applaud him, because Arsenio, as you know, had this maniac, Minister Farrakhan, who is the biggest enemy of the black people because he takes advantage of the stupider black people, gets them in a room and says, "You got a lot of problems," and blame the Jews, which is a rather simplistic kind of approach and doesn't really do anything good for the black community.
Yeah, he leaves with a pocket full of your money and you still don't have a solution to the problem.
And your problem is the Jews. So the Jews are bringing pork into the community. The Jews, whatever it is.
They're shoving it down your throat.
Yeah. And I guess pork would ruin a community. I don't know why, but anyway.
Well, I told you, my theory is that the pork makes you crazy, and then you go drink liquor.
Right. There you go. For whatever reason, it's another way of someone saying to you, "Hey, look, you're not the reason there's a problem. Just because your life is going badly, it's not your fault. The Jew manipulating you and the white man and the whole thing." Okay. So anyway, this Farrakhan goes on the Arsenio Hall show the other day. And Arsenio Hall, that puppet head, that nothing, that a man with zero talent, who was lucky enough to get a talk show, he sat there with this Minister Farrakhan like he was a visiting head of state, never challenged him, never asked him a controversial question, sat there like a puppet head, didn't even challenge him, and for an hour gave him a forum.
I understand at the end of Farrakhan can go on for a long time once you get him cranked.
Yeah.
You let him go, and he'll go. And after he finished one of these long dissertations, Arsenio's response was, "Wow."
Yeah. Wow. Like, "Listen here, hickory dickory dock, the mouse went up the clock." Wow. The McDonald's drive-in clown would have been more challenging than Arsenio Hall to Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I use that word minister in a sarcastic way.
He can call himself anything. He's a first-class minister.
Now, what do you say? You say, "Howard, what do you mean? Minister Farrakhan shouldn't be allowed to be a guest on a talk show?" No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if David Duke had been invited on the Arsenio Hall show, a man who hates the black man, he hates Jews, hates people, do you think Arsenio Hall would sit there with reverence and sit there and devote an hour to the views of David Duke
without whatsoever?
Arsenio Hall would be like a man on fire. He would sit there and he would go, "Look, man, what you saying about the black man is wrong." And then all of a sudden the audience would go, "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo." It would be like a big pep rally. And this Arsenio Hall, this nothing, this punk, this coward, if he had had David Duke on...
He wouldn't have even had David Duke.
Right. If he had had David Duke on and sat there with reverence for a guy who is a known black hater, everyone in show business would say, "I am not going on the Arsenio Hall show ever again. I'm embarrassed by this guy. He's a filthy hate mongerer. He's buying into the whole thing." It's the same thing if David Letterman or Jay Leno tomorrow night had on a known racist, a bigot.
And just let them spew their beliefs.
Right. Spew their beliefs, didn't ridicule it, didn't challenge it, didn't anything. You would say, "My God, this is a horrible show. No publicist is going to put their people on there." Well, Arsenio Hall sat there with Minister Farrakhan, and while he spews his junk, his hogwash, doesn't even challenge him.
He had announced even that he was going to have people from groups who opposed Farrakhan either offer questions on videotape or offer them in person, and in the end, none of those people showed up.
Yeah, never did that. Couldn't get that together. Couldn't find anyone that would challenge him. So, because he doesn't have the balls to challenge him. And this is unbelievable to people, but you know what? Whitey sits there, Whitey and Blackie sit there, and everyone keeps their mouths shut. So Richard Belzer announced today that he has been offered a slot on the Arsenio Hall show, and he refuses ever again to do the Arsenio Hall show.
Really?
That's right. And I applaud him for this. Because Belzer says, hey, look, I'm not going to buy into this. I've never been afraid to speak out. I'm not going to buy into a show that has a guy on, doesn't even challenge the guy, doesn't say, hey, you're anti-Semitic, you're anti-white, you're anti-people, you're not offering any solution, doesn't even challenge, and nobody says anything. If a white man had a television show and he started booking David Duke on for an hour, every publicist in Hollywood would never go on that show again.
Well, all I know is that Andrew Dice Clay only told a few jokes, and a girl walked off the band.
Offended.
Of the Arsenio Hall show.
Yeah, because he talked about sex. offended by Andrew Dice Clay. Can you imagine?
But I bet you she was there the night Louis Farrakhan.
Oh yeah, where is this band member when an anti-Semitic like Louis Farrakhan comes on? Why does she walk off? Listen, this guy Arsenio Hall is a big puppet head who is a suck-ass. And let me tell you something. The people in Hollywood should be ashamed of themselves. Where are the publicists making an outcry? Where are people in Hollywood not saying we'll never do the Arsenio Hall show again? Where are they? You're all pussies. You're all cowards. You're all phonies. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. Because you're not sincere people. You're a-holes. You go on our Stupio show and you accept this, and if anybody else had done a thing like this, you'd be in an uproar. Everyone's afraid to speak out. Why is that? So anyway, Richard Belzer is not, and I applaud this guy. I like him. I like Belzer, always have. And I wish his skin would clear up. What do you think of that? I hope it does.
God should clear his skin now. He's done a good thing.
Yeah, I think God's going to look forward favorably on him. Because he says, wait a second, what is going on here? Do you know that in the House of Representatives, Mayor Koch points this out in his column in the New York Post, in the House of Representatives, they took a vote and they condemned Louis Farrakhan because they want to at least make a symbolic statement. Do you know that 11 people would not vote for that? 11 black guys would not vote for that? They would not condemn Louis Farrakhan? That's amazing to me. Why wouldn't you? What are you saying? What he's saying is correct? Are you afraid to say something? Why is everyone so afraid? What are you afraid of?
Well, the Nation of Islam has not been the most peace-loving group in the world. Yeah, but certainly when it comes to this Arsenio Hall, who is a hypocrite of the biggest kind, sitting there kowtowing and not challenging, and certainly not even saying... Well, this is, the saddest thing in this whole thing is all these people who wear X hats, and they run around saying they love Malcolm X, and then they say they love Louis Farrakhan. Yeah. Well, there's a little problem there. Yeah, well, if you analyze history, there's a big problem there. You gotta love one or the other. You can't, I don't think, love both of them. Right. And Belzer's point is well taken. If you're going to sit there and not challenge a racist at all, he's not saying you got to meet the press, but certainly... No, he's not saying you shouldn't even have him on your show, but don't sit there and go, wow, because you know what? That sends a message saying that you condone what he's saying. If you're there to learn, that's like having Adolf Hitler on your show. He would be more challenging to the president. Yeah, exactly. Well, because he's a brother, and that's another brother, and you don't want to step on his toes, you understand? It's the Nation of Islam. Hey, Arsenio, kiss my ass. And where are all you brave publicists who are the ones who tell me that your clients can't come on this show? Because I'm offensive. Where are you? Okay, I agree. I'm offensive. Don't book your stupid guests here. But don't tell me you're going to book them on Arsenio's show, because that's the most offensive thing I ever saw. Well, judging from what happened with Louis Farrakhan, they know they're not going to be challenged or anything. Well, good for Richard Belzer. Won't be any hardball questions, so if they have a problem, that may be where they want to go.
Yeah. You know, Belzer lost one of his testicles to testicle cancer. I hope it grows back. What do you think of that?
You're wishing him a miracle.
I'm wishing him a miracle, a regrowth of his testicle.
Which could be more miraculous, clear skin or a regrowth of his testicle?
Now, the biggest miracle for him would be if someone would recall all of his wife's porno movies. Now, that would be a miracle. Never mind the testicle, and never mind the skin.
You didn't care about those.
No, forget those. That's history. His wife's porno movies, that's another problem.
That's what he'd like to get off the market.
Yeah, you'd try and do that. Listen, before we bring in Ahmet and, of course, Dweezil Zappa.
Well, I must say, I'm very impressed because Richard is usually so confused on every issue.
Well, he's not confused about this, and he's crystal clear on this one. And I thought I'd bring him up as Hero of the Day, Richard Belzer.
All right.
How do you like that? Never thought I'd hear me say that. Hero of the Day.
Not Richard anymore.
No, because every day I'm Hero of the Day, since I'm so brave. Hero of the Day. Belzer.
Richard Belzer.
Right, thank you.
Give him his whole name on a Hero of the Day day.
Robin just went topless for Hero of the Day. Good for you. Putting your money where your mouth